Now, the South African Police Services will today send a 5-member team to France on Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa's death investigation. And the team will be working very closely with French law enforcement authorities in order to ensure that the circumstances surrounding Ambassador Mthethwa's death are thoroughly as well as transparently investigated. And to further unpack this for us, let's extend a very warm welcome to forensic expert Ms. Dorothy Mmushi. Dorothy, we do appreciate your time on the show today. Welcome. So look, I just want to get your expert opinion on the current revelations around the death of former Police Minister Nathi Mthethwa in France. What are you reading into what we've currently been told thus far?
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. Good afternoon to yourself and your viewers. What we're reading thus far is that there's a lot of speculation around the death of the former minister, in that it's alleged that it was alleged suicide. And we believe that the French authorities will be able to hold a thorough investigation that will reveal whether it was indeed suicide, or was it as a result of any foul play that passed away.
Very interesting indeed that you mentioned that speculation, Dorothy, because I was speaking to SAPS yesterday and I was saying that, in the absence of facts, it leaves room for much speculation, and a whole lot of rumors that we've seen doing the rounds can actually contaminate the entire investigation. And I've been trying, Dorothy, without any progress, to get any official word of surveillance footage around this matter, especially on the part of the hotel, right? It simply cannot be that there's no trace of said events under normal understandings. Is there potential cover-up, you think? Of what also?
What we have, the information we've got at our disposal is the fact that there was no other suspicions of the late minister having rivalry with anyone in France or him having any known enemies. And given the caliber of person that he was, I mean, this was an ambassador who was in France, it is expected that he ought to have had high-profile security around him. And further, if you look at the type of hotel that he was staying in, definitely there should be surveillance footage there. There should be CCTV cameras. So there would be evidence in terms of what has happened in that environment. So I'm sure the French authorities would have possible access to that information, and they obviously don't want to make it public knowledge at this stage, because that is crucial evidence that will be able to determine whether it was indeed suicide or whether there was any other foul play. Now, with us South Africans, there'll always be speculation, because if you look at the timing of the death of the late Nathi Mthethwa, it was during a time that he was mentioned in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and he would have possibly been a potential witness that would have been called to the commission. So therefore, people will obviously have speculations. And further, I have also heard, if you watched on social media, people are concerned about SAPS's involvement in the investigation in France.
Dorothy, we lost you there for a couple of seconds when you were talking or making reference to what you've observed on social media. If you can just please go over that point once again.
Oh, yes. My apologies. I think we had a bad connectivity there. So as I had mentioned, there will be speculation about what has happened in France, given that the late minister was a potential witness in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And also further remembering that South Africans do not have trust in the SAPS. So there is speculation about the SAPS's involvement in sending a delegation of investigators to go and assist the French authorities in their investigation. So obviously South Africans will speculate and say, should the SAPS actually be going to France to assist the French authorities? Given the fact that the SAPS, the late minister, was a potential witness. So people have this perception that the SAPS will be interfering in the investigation.
And
whether that is true or untrue, we can leave that to speculation, of course.
I mean, more speculation from this side as well, Dorothy, because I wanted to find out just what or how should such an investigation actually should be conducted in consideration, of course, to the multi-cross-border disciplines and requirements that are crucial for such an investigation. I'm asking this because the special 5-member team that leaves today is set to return on the 10th. And according to SAPS, they were merely going to assist, as you've just alluded to, or further collaborate or even piggyback off French authorities' findings. So do you think we'll ever get to the bottom of the real events? Because what also concerns me is that the death certificate was reportedly issued today, Dorothy, right? But we were already getting reports on the day that apparently Minister Mthethwa's body, the former Minister Mthethwa's body was found, that there was no suspected drug use. How? Because the toxicology reports and the autopsy had not been conducted at that particular time.
You know, when there's an investigation of this nature, there's always means and ways of information leaking before it is confirmed. So obviously, what is of importance is what the final report from the French authorities reflects. You must remember, with an entire forensic investigation, it would be based on evidence. They'll look at all those toxicology reports, the autopsy reports as well will indicate what was the potential cause of death. So it's something that we need to leave the French authorities, who are well and capable of investigating, to do a thorough investigation that is transparent and that is independent. So for me, I feel that the French authorities should be allowed to conduct their investigations, gather sufficient evidence, and then produce that to the South African government. Because you must remember, the French authorities also have a level of accountability to South Africa, because the late Nathi Mthethwa was an ambassador who was sent on this mission as a South African. So therefore, the French have an accountability to us to ensure that they're able to provide us with information of what led to his death.
Especially such a high-profile death, Dorothy. Thank you so much for your insightful input this afternoon. Ms. Dorothy Mmushi, there is a forensic expert also weighing in on Nathi Mthethwa's death investigation.